Did Mark stop his worshipping for Liam Farrell already? Why would I?
No.
Why would I stop after that? What a game. But what Adrian Lamb thought to play Bibby as fullback, he played him on the wing, is a big riddle. Still, it's a riddle, though. He had two others in his starting 13. The ref was really good, and both teams gave their all. All games should be like that, but then we can watch the highlights of Catalans and Hull KR, whatever.
EFC 78JU says, well played, Wire, but not the result we were after. Losing, only lost by 4 points. More of a first half team than a second half team. Congrats to Wigan winning the game. On to Tuesday at home to Leeds. Come on the Wire. Grand final spots are still on. Well, they still are, yes.
What's with you adding punctuation in? We know that you don't add punctuation into EFC.
I'm sorry, I needed to take a breath. I'm really sorry.
Massive point there. First half team, not a second half team. I think that's come home to roost, hasn't it, in the last 3 or 4 matches for Wire, unfortunately for them. Lee Whitnell said, we couldn't make pressure count again. Made some errors in key moments and paid for it at the end. We seem to rely on chaos, unstructured plays in attack, but if that doesn't work, we're a bit buggered. We've got a crucial couple of games coming up to get us back on track.
John Hamilton, good response after last week from Wigan. Clearly one more ex-Rhino was the missing piece of the puzzle.
Look, ask the pictures on social media over the weekend show. He's always once a warrior, always a warrior. He seems like he's where he belongs. St David said, really good game of rugby. Wire started fast again. Wigan, like Salford, stayed in touch and then won it at the death. Hardacre man of the match, he said.
Would you agree?
I mean, Man of Steel and Albert Goldthorpe, as well as television, have Farrell be in the pick with 3 points in Man of Steel and the Albert Goldthorpe for Liam Farrell. Hardacre got 2, Ratchford got 1 in the Man of Steel, Ratchford got 2, Hardacre got 1 in the Albert Goldthorpe, and I'd probably go that order, personally. Actually, on the R-League Man of the Match vote, which obviously comes out 15 minutes before the game's finished, because why wouldn't it? I went for Ratchford on that just before Liam Farrell scored his try. I made my selection just before that attack. And so with just over 5 minutes to go, I made my selection.
You shot your bolt
and I regretted
early.
it straight away afterwards because why wouldn't I? But no, I thought Ratchford was brilliant as well. In fact, Ratchford, Darryl Clark, really good for Warrington. Hill maybe had his most influential game for some time. I'm going to slightly disagree with Jen. I do think he just got the ball to the line. But
I thought it was a try.
Yeah, given that Wire's 2 tries were one was scored when Wigan were a man down in the sin bin and it was a penalty try, and the other was just a try, like he just got to the line, and they were the only 2 tries that Warrington scored. I think Wigan shouldn't be too. Wigan should be really pumped about the defence with that stuff like that. I think, even though there were these strong performances for Warrington, and actually one of the big talking points during and after the game was Stephen Ratchford taking that penalty goal, which Warrington were like, we didn't want the penalty goal, we wanted to run it. Well, on reflection, it just meant that they scored 14 points, not 12 points, because does anyone really think they were going to score against Wigan in that second half, the way it all played out?
I know you're not an advocate for the taking the 2. I know you're not. So as soon as he was taking it, I almost made a mental note. Mark won't like this. But it did. It does kind of indicate a little bit of feeling that they're not going to score, doesn't it? It's almost an admission of failure.
But they didn't admit it, did they? They're saying that one player mentioned going for the 2, and that's what the ref heard, so he signalled for the 2, and then it was kind of too late. So yeah, the normal rules, like you say, are it's a kind of a negative play most of the time for me, unless it's absolutely tipping it down or it's the last 5 minutes of an important game or whatever. But I think Warrington did think they could score, but I'm saying I don't think they could. If Jake Bibby, who had just been terrible in defence, dropping everything in the first half, made that tackle on Josh Charnley, one of the best wingers in the competition, on the play before, I know someone 7 players inside was 2 yards offside, had no influence on the play, but it was the right call because he was offside. That Bibby didn't know that. Charlie didn't know that. The whistle didn't go until after Bibby had put Charlie into touch. So I'm saying they wouldn't have scored.
All evidence suggests it's unlikely because the other 79 minutes, you saw what their efforts were. So why would it be different that set than the other number of sets that they had on the line? Because this was a story of Warrington pressure and Wigan resistance for me. Wigan were just more clinical when they had the chances to score. And yeah, you always suspected that Wigan were going to score late. I don't know what it was particularly. You just kind of, I just had this feeling in my water that Wigan were going to score, and they did. So
yeah,
that's just a Warrington thing.
I think Wigan's pivots all sort of contributed, and in the game they all had a try assist. With Smith coming off the bench and the 2 starters, and I think what you got from them was more composure, less rashness, and what Lee says about like Warrington relying on chaos, but when it comes to having I suppose the opposite of that is when you need composure, they're not necessarily showing it at the moment, which is difficult. I mean, Liam Farrell's try was the most animated I've been since these lockdown games have been happening, and I've been forced to watch Wigan play on my television. I was almost hugging the television. I was that animated. I was up. I was cheering. I've not, like, no game has made me feel as much as this game has made me feel since we've come back in. I think other than the Warrington St Helens Cup game, this has been the best game because so much went on. Both teams put a lot into it, and it was close going into the end, and it was a close, exciting finish. So I think, and there was bits of controversy within it as well, which all played into the whole picture. Have you seen that apparently the Ollie Partington tackle on Blake Austin in the build-up to Wigan's first try should have been a penalty according to the match review panel because there was incidental secondary contact of shoulder to face or something in it. So that seems a bit... I mean, I think if you're analysing every tackle to that level, I think there's a lot of incidental secondary contacts on people's heads.
Well, he was very keen to make his point, wasn't he, Austin? So I think that's probably why it was reflected as such.
To me, you don't want to take hits like that out of the game, and I'm talking both ways because it wasn't dirty, it wasn't nasty, it wasn't dangerous, and it wasn't high. It was a good tackle around the ball, and then maybe after that there's some contact, but none of it was, none of it was what the focus of the tackle was. The focus was a clean, hard hit around the ball, getting the ball and breaking up the field, and that was a huge play in the pattern of the game. So if it had been given a penalty, as the match review panel have said it should have been, then maybe things might have been different. Who knows? But from my point of view, thankfully, sense prevailed, and a physical contact sport was allowed to be that with a great tackle that wasn't dangerous. So, but yeah, what can I say about Liam Farrell? The timing and the execution of the Hardacre try from Hastings' kick, that probably was the standout highlight moment of the game as well. But I thought Partington was really good, Hardacre was really good, Farrell was exceptional as well. Singleton on debut, it's been mentioned by some people in the fan views, and I think, gotta say, after not playing for so long, he hadn't played since March or something, and he's only been in training 10 days or so, you've got to say it was a really strong performance from him as well. Yeah.
Can't disagree with that. Can I just ask you a question about the yellow cards or the lack of yellow cards or whatever?
Yeah.
Because for me, the ISO one was incredibly soft. I'm not quite sure why that was a yellow card. But at the same time, I can't understand why Manfredi wasn't sent to the bin for a professional foul.
So, Isa was sent to the bin for a professional foul because it was foul play to tackle the player in the air. And, you know, we still know that is foul play. It is seen as something that's potentially dangerous. You know, if Jake Mamo hadn't landed safely, he could have landed unsafely. But more to the point, tackling in the air prevented him from having the opportunity to score the try. So, an illegal act prevented a player from having the opportunity to score a try. But I don't think there was any argument for a penalty try because ultimately Mamo didn't catch the ball. So you can't say that he would have caught the ball had Isa not tackled him in the air. So I think that one was fair enough. It felt soft because it didn't feel like a particularly bad tackle. But it was a tackle in the air. There was a potential for it to be dangerous and a potential for it to be stopping a try-scoring opportunity. I think you put those two things together and the foul play becomes a professional foul, becomes a sin bin. I think fair enough. The Manfredi one wasn't a sin bin because the penalty try was given. Simple as that. They determined that he would have scored. Therefore, you don't get the double jeopardy type situation. You don't get a sin bin and a penalty try. We've seen this over and over again. We saw it in the NRL, didn't we, a few years ago? Last year, was it, when Cronk was sin binned in the grand final? Or was it the year before, actually? I can't remember. But Cronk was sin binned in the grand final for a professional foul because they decided they couldn't conclusively say the penalty try should be awarded. So they sin binned him instead. And we've seen lots of circumstances like this. So I think because they decided it was a penalty try, they wouldn't put him in the sin bin, and I think that's fine too. You know, I was comfortable with both decisions ultimately.
Fair enough. It's just from the outside.
It looks, so that's talking point.
It looks odd when something that is almost incidental contact in the air, although it was a penalty and a foul, is, you know what I mean, where the Manfredi one was blatant and kind of, you know.
See, I actually think the Manfredi one, I feel knew that he was tackling him in the air, but was doing it in desperation to stop the try. I think Manfredi was genuinely trying to get to the ball, but
by wrapping his arms around the wire player. But
I think he was hoping to time it up, that he'd get round, touch the ball as he kind of impeded Matty Ashton. But what actually happened is he kind of pulled him first, and that allowed him to reach round. But I think he was genuinely going for the ball. So I, in a way, feel it was a little bit... That one was a little bit harsher than the Isa one, but actually, I'm completely comfortable with both the calls. And I do think, you know, both sides had maybe reason to grumble about the odd forward pass that wasn't given, or about the odd bit of contact. Like there was a knock-on that wasn't given against Zach Hardacre sort of in the second half of the game, but actually Blake Austin really went to town on his head. So, you know, it could have been a penalty to Wigan as well. And neither was given. It shouldn't have been neither given because there was a knock-on, so something should have had to have been given, but the referees didn't see it. But it was part of, I think, the way they officiated this game, which was, this is two top sides playing with intensity. Let's let them do that.
Yeah.
Which is how we want these games that effectively are going to be playoff games at some point down the line. It's how we want them refereed.
And ultimately, I don't think it played out in the result. I think Wigan were clearly the better side.
Well, both teams had chances, didn't they? And one team took them.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough.
And I don't know if I've mentioned it before, but I really love Liam Farrell. Stat line of the week. Liam Farrell with... No, it's not. It's Ash Hanley. 3 tries, 1 try assist and 202 metres. It's Ash Hanley. Fair play. Not that Farrell's wasn't impressive.
I think that's fair enough. There's a debate here. I think I'll stick with your view in terms of Ash Handley for stat line of the week, but for player of the week, and because his stats were just as impressive, I'm going to go for Christian Inu. I think he was brilliant this week.
Well, I've written down Liam Farrell